Okay, so I've had my Magnuson Supercharger installed for about 2 weeks now, and I've been driving around with it. Yeah, long story short, this thing is awesome, and if it's in your budget, you should definitely get one. It basically just offers way more torque everywhere, but especially down low for, you know, like around town driving. It's great. I would estimate it. I'm supposed to get it onto the dyno in a couple of weeks here, but I mean, just driving around, I would estimate it's got, you know, 20 to 30% more torque everywhere, including like right off idle. So it actually it makes working the clutch a little bit easier as well once everything's up to temperature. It's pretty great. So this is a 2015 6-speed, and one thing to note is I had a hell of a time installing the software that it comes with, which is the Bully Dog kit, which it just wouldn't install. So basically what we had to do was hook up an OBD2 reader and just watch the fuel trims of the new injectors of the AF ratios. I think there's some kind of narrow band or O2 sensor on the truck, so you can read the exhaust or the air fuel ratio. And we ran it on the stock ECU for like 2 days while we waited for the TRD guy to or the guy on Tacoma World who did the TRD flashes to get in contact. And then we took the ECU out and sent it to him, and he shipped it back within a couple of days. But the truck will run with the Supercharger on the stock ECU, so you can drive it home if you have it installed at the shop or whatever. Apparently the Bully Dog software just sucks in general, so I guess I'm glad that didn't work. But yeah, now I'm running the TRD flash with some HP tuner modifications, like they got rid of the rev hang and some other stuff like that. The guy's name is Just DSM on Tacoma World. I guess he's graduated from doing DSM stuff to other stuff. But yeah, his name is Just DSM. Shoot him a message on Tacoma World if you need it. But so far with the TRD tune, this thing runs great. I haven't done a wide open throttle run just because I want to do that on the dyno. But fuel economy doesn't seem any worse driving around town. It seems pretty much the same. But I obviously don't get on the boost like going to get lunch or whatever. So I will say that I've driven it on the highway a handful of times. It's awesome on the highway. Like, I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear the whine of the Supercharger. But yeah, basically the truck drives like it has a V8 in it, especially when you're pulling onto the highway. There's just absolutely no problems getting up to 65 and merging with like 10% throttle or something crazy. I did notice that like when you're cruising on the highway, you can basically just leave it in 6th gear, and you know, going up and down or up hills, passing people, it definitely makes everything a lot easier and smoother, and there's less shifting, and you know, probably at the expense of some gas mileage, but I don't drive this on the highway very often, so that's fine with me. Also, it seems to have, I mean, it makes the truck drive obviously faster. It has more torque, but it also makes it feel lighter, just because there's more power there. So, you know, I have upgraded suspension and skid plates and a couple of other things on the front of the truck, so makes it kind of feel like that stuff is not there, even when you're not, you know, hammering it or whatever. So it's a huge improvement. I mean, I would expect nothing less for $7,000 plus installation. So, you know, I'm not like surprised that it's pretty great, especially for the price point. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to you know, give to bring an older. I mean, you know, I guess you could call this an older truck. It's already almost 2 generations old. I heard the new generation's coming out next year, so you know, a lot more power out of the 4-liter V6, a lot more utility with the manual transmission, and I love it. If it's in your budget, I would highly recommend it. It turns the truck into much more powerful. I'm still getting used to the rev hang delete, so I'm not as smooth with the transmission as I used to be. And the clutch, it seems to work well with the stock clutch, but again, I'm still getting used to it, so I guess I might have an update in a few months when I've been driving this thing a lot more, but after I've driven this thing a lot more. But yeah, the Supercharger whine is also pretty entertaining. I've never actually driven a supercharged vehicle before, just turbo and naturally aspirated, so that's a new thing for me, which is kind of fun. Yeah, instant torque. It's kind of a new thing for me, as far as forced induction goes. You start thinking about, as soon as you add power, is better brakes. I'm already looking at big brake kits and rear disc kits, since, you know, I mean, this thing builds up speed pretty quickly now. You know, you're up to 40 on surface streets within a couple of seconds, and on the freeway on ramps you're up to 60 in, like, you know, under, I mean, just casually driving under 8 or 9 seconds, I'd say. So you're up to freeway speeds really fast, whereas with the stock truck you're just kind of sitting there, unless you really get into it. You know, you're just kind of sitting there building speed for like 20 seconds on the on-ramp. So yeah, it scoots now for sure. Hi, I'm just picking up.
In the middle, 2 cars.
Okay, thanks. thing I did notice is that there's a little bit of extra drag at idle, so I was actually parked in the sun one day and idling, and I noticed that the air conditioner wasn't as strong as it used to be. So that is something to be aware of, I guess. Not a big deal. I don't do that very often. There's probably something you can tune with the HP Tuners software to raise the idle a little bit, if that bothers you. But yeah, that's the only thing I've noticed. Other than that, it's very it basically just behaves like the stock setup. You can hear and feel the supercharger come to life when you start the truck, and you can also, you know, just hear it all the time a little bit in the cabin, which is kind of cool. So you definitely know it's there, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't bother me at all. It's kind of cool, actually. Again, I've never driven a supercharged vehicle before, so it's all new to me.